Hello, welcome. You're watching Parliament News. I'm Gautam Roy. Let's start with what happened in the Lok Sabha today. Well, the lower house today passed the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2022 to amend the list of scheduled tribes in Uttar Pradesh. Replying to the debate, Tribal Affairs Minister Arjun Munda said that the Narendra Modi government is committed to welfare of tribals and has increased budgetary allocation over the years for the welfare schemes for tribals. In response to a demand from some members, including Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary and RSP's N.K. Premachandran, that the government should bring a comprehensive bill on tribal reservation instead of piecemeal legislations, the minister said that different states have different lists of tribes, and that is why the government brings different bills. The bill for Uttar Pradesh proposes to include Gond, Dhuria, Nayak, Ojha, Pathari, Rajgond communities living in the four newly created districts of Uttar Pradesh, Sant Kabir Nagar, Kushinagar, Chandauli and Sant Ravidas Nagar in the list of scheduled tribes. The bill also seeks to exclude the Gond community living in these four districts from the list of scheduled castes. Participating in the debate, several members sought better and a more effective implementation of the reservation policies for such categories. BJP MP from Madhya Pradesh, Guman Singh Damor, said poor and uneducated tribal communities are being converted by offering inducements and the government should exclude them from the list of scheduled tribes to protect the indigenous culture. Trinamool Congress leader Shaukat Roy brought up the issue of Maoist militancy in tribal areas and stressed that it must be contained through development. Opening up the debate, Congress member Deepak Baij, who represents the tribal region of Bastar, urged the minister to expedite a similar proposal from Chhattisgarh that seeks to include certain communities of the state in the list of scheduled tribes. He said the proposal from the state government has been pending with the centre for a few years now. Baij said a few years ago, tribals in Chhattisgarh were living in fear of becoming victims of either the security personnel or Naxals. The Congress member also wanted the government to scrap any privatization policy that encroaches upon the rights of tribals. BJP's Jagdambika Pal said that the government should initiate a census of the tribal population in the country and demanded more clarity in issuing caste certificates. TMC MP Prathama Mondal said that funds for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes remained underutilized and raised the issue of crimes against the community. She said their inclusion of more communities is not enough and emphasis must be given on effective implementation of the reservation policy. She said more funds should be allocated and awareness should be created through education. Shiv Sena's Rajendra Gawat said the issue of fake caste certificates in Maharashtra and said that those communities that have moved out of below poverty line category because of reservation can be excluded from the list. YSR Congress Party Sanjeev Kumar said that the amendments reflected the aspirations of the marginalized communities. Earth Sciences Minister Jitendra Singh introduced the Indian Antarctic Bill in the House as well amid objections raised by opposition members that sought to enforce Indian laws if any unlawful activity happened in the territory occupied by Indian research stations. The minister said that the Antarctic Treaty makes it mandatory for all 54 countries who are the signatories to apply their respective laws in the areas occupied by those countries. India has two active research stations in Antarctic, that is Maitri and Bharti, where scientists are involved in research. Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said such a law was uncalled for since India does not even have its own polar research vessel and has to hire such vessels for expeditions. Arguing that it was a no man's land, Trinamool Shaukat Roy wondered if the government wanted to take its bureaucracy even to Antarctica. Law Minister Kiren Rijiju, in a written answer, informed the House that the government had appointed 27 women High Court judges of the 39 recommendations made by the Supreme Court Collegium in the past 1 year. The remaining 12 cases are under various stages of the process, the minister added. Kiren Rijiju said that under the present system of judicial appointments, the onus to provide social diversity and representation to all sections of society, including SCs, STs, women and minorities, primarily falls upon the judiciary. Answering a separate question on whether the government had received any proposal to increase the number of judges in the Supreme Court, the law minister said the government has not received proposal after June 2019 and its sanction strength is 34. As part of private members' business on Friday, BJP MP Varun Gandhi introduced a private members' bill that seeks to make minimum support price for farm produce a legal right for every farmer. Another BJP member, Rajendra Agarwal, introduced the Population Stabilization and Control Bill that suggests measures and methods to control the population and a comprehensive policy towards stabilizing India's population by promoting schemes that incentivize the small family norm. Congress member Shashi Tharoor moved the Unlawful Activities Prevention Repeal Bill 2022 to annul the UAPA. The Lok Sabha member from Thiruvananthapuram also introduced a bill to provide for the protection, preservation, promotion and sustainable development of India's traditional knowledge. In 0 Hour Mentions, Bahujan Samaj Party member Danish Ali urged the centre to enact a law against mob lynching and lamented over attempts by governors to stall such anti-lynching laws made by state governments. The Lok Sabha member from Amroha claimed that the incidents of mob lynching were on the rise and even the Supreme Court had asked the government to enact a law to curb such incidents. BJP member from Ladakh, Jamia Namgyal, demanded that Buddhist monastic educational institutes be recognized by the government and given aid as students from Nepal, Bhutan, Mongolia, among others, pursue Buddhist monastic education at institutes in places such as Mysuru, Dehradun, Sikkim and Darjeeling. Now let's turn to the Rajya Sabha. Well, the Rajya Sabha on Friday discussed a private member's bill, the Population Regulation Bill 2019, that seeks to regulate population by promoting two-child per couple policy. It was moved by BJP member Rakesh Sinha. Participating in the debate, Jairam Ramesh of the Congress, Tiruchi Siva of the DMK, said states which have successfully implemented family planning must not be made to lose out on central allocations which are based on population. Ramesh said as fund allocation from the centre to states through Niti Aayog and Finance Commission are all based on population, states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and Punjab, which have successfully controlled population, are losing out. We should not penalize the early pioneers in family planning. These were the states that showed the way for India, but these are the states that will have lesser MPs, lesser resources, lesser tax devolution. That's what Jairam Ramesh asserted. Siva said, and I quote, "My apprehension is states which are implementing family planning policy rightly in the manner it should be are being punished." Citing the example of Tamil Nadu, he said the state government has successfully implemented the family planning policy and has been appreciated and applauded in every way. Jawahar Sirkar of the Trinamool Congress said, and I quote, "We hope that it is not targeted to any community because recent studies from National Family Welfare Survey and others show that the total fertility rate has evened out. We are reaching what is called the replacement fertility rate, which means we will go down in population." Binoy Viswam of the CPI said there is an element in that bill which is very dangerous. Earlier in the upper house, 15 private member bills were also introduced. These include the Right to Free Electricity Bill 2022 by Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party that seeks consumption of free electricity as a right for all citizens throughout India. Dr. V. Sivadasan of the CPIM introduced a bill to provide right to land and shelter to citizens as to ensure the realization of constitutionally guaranteed rights of dignity and opportunity to all citizens who are devoid of land and shelter. John Brittas of the CPM moved a bill to provide the establishment of a permanent bench of the High Court of Kerala at Thiruvananthapuram. P. Wilson of the MK moved a bill to amend Article 200 of the Indian Constitution and fix a time limit for the governors to act after a bill has been passed by the state legislature and sent for his assent. Sashmit Patra introduced bills to amend the Indian Contract Act 1872 and the Representation of the People Act 1951. Sanjay Singh of Aam Aadmi Party introduced bills to make free electricity a right for all citizens throughout India and to amend the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. YSR Congress Party member V. Vijay Sai Reddy introduced a private member's bill seeking a constitutional amendment to revive the National Judicial Appointments Commission, that's the NJAC. In 2015, the Supreme Court had overturned a government decision to set up a National Judicial Appointments Commission. Excuse me. Vivek Ketanka of the International Congress moved a bill to provide social, political and economic rehabilitation to Kashmiri Pandits, protection of their property, restoration of their cultural heritage, ensuring their safety and security, provision of rehabilitation and resettlement package to them. Shanta Chetri of the AITC moved a bill to declare the Kurseong Gorkha Institute of Fashion and Design an institution of national importance. K. Som Prasad introduced a bill to prevent the loss of job opportunities of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward communities due to disinvestment of public sector undertakings. Earlier in the day, during 0 Hour, TMC MP Shanta Chetri demanded minority status for Hindus in Meghalaya, citing the centre's assertion in the Supreme Court that states can consider granting Hindus minority status if they deem so. If Hindus are in minority in a particular state, they should be able to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice in keeping with the rights granted to the minority by the Constitution according to the centre, she added. Two opposition members, John Brittas of CPM and Priyanka Chaturvedi from the Shiv Sena, raised the issue of an increase in the prices of essential drugs and demanded immediate relief during 0 Hour. John Britta said prices of more than 800 medicines are being increased by 11% effectively from the 1st of April, which will adversely impact the common man, and urged the government to withdraw the hike. Shiv Sena MP Priyanka Chaturvedi too joined the issue and urged the union government to provide relief to people on this front. Chaturvedi said the cost of living is increasing every day and pointed out that while petrol, diesel, cooking fuel and even food are already costly, medicines too have become dearer. That's all we have for the moment as far as this edition of Parliament News is concerned. For all the latest, keep watching DD India.